All right, it is August 17th. Summer still trucking along here. I think here in Newport, everybody's kind of bruised up after the Ida Lewis distance race, which for some was offshore. The rest of us was inshore, but nice, kind of a rare gusty northeaster for a couple days. And as you know, Ida Lewis Yacht Club tried to keep it COVID friendly by, most of the perp boats, you kept inside this big long course that took up the entire bay. And I think by the time we finished at 5:30, 5.5 hours, we were pretty happy to not be doing the offshore leg like the rest of the guys ripping around off Rhode Island Sound. But I think it was pretty quick for most of them. And Ken Reed won his double-handed division, so we'll see if we can get him on here one week and see if we can get him to what's going on there. But sporty weekend, sporty day. I'll give you a quick screen share here, at least for us. Let's see. So for me, this was it's the only time I had the camera out. You see this was probably the sunniest part of the day. I was fortunate to do the race on a Swan 36 owned by a great friend of ours here that we sail J24s with. This is his cruising boat. So we spent the good day taking off the awning and the canopy, this and that. And it's just
Herb McCormick there in the corner.
Yeah, but whole buddy Herb. So we have basically Stu Stroily, former editor here, keeping tactics, and we had 3 people on the boat that never sailed on a big boat. And it's a big boat with a lot of big heavy loads and very complicated dip pole jobs and everything. So we got some boat handling to work out for next year. But it was so you get a little taste of the scene.
It's gonna be a starboard pole.
Starboard pole.
Yep.
Hey, Stu. Yep. Stu. Now Stu likes to look around. Not quite sure what he's looking at there, and we were going slow motion here, so I'll speed it up for you. There's a look around at the looks like a normal fleet. There's a look at this is the nicest sail on the boat. Would be our main. We got a nice new brand new. How about that for a beefy rig, huh? Quite a good piece of metal that came in handy later, but
beefy main too.
Yeah. So that little heavy number 1 that Ian I think got out of a container off an ILC 40 never saw the light of the day. So we decided the last minute to go with his big 130 thing, which had the first 4 feet of it were just covered in this beautiful dark black mildew. So it was a sail that held for the day. But that was on my ride for the day, but it was a beautiful one. But so oops, stop sharing. Stop that share.
Yep.
But yeah, it was nice. It's amazing, but here on the bay to have a nice, the northern part of the bay, we don't get up too much, but doing a good 55 miles. It was nice that it was blowing 25. A good gust of 30.
I kind of like that seat on the foredeck there. The nice, comfortable place for the bowman to kind of sit there. Right?
It's beautiful for the jibes. It really is. The yelling backwards, made. But there was it was a sporty start. A lot of boats wiping out, and what a fun day though. It's just nice it was nice to be able to sort of spend a full afternoon beating, and feel like you work hard pretty stiff. So that was the extent of my weekend. Good racing. How about the rest of you guys?
I did a cool thing on Saturday. I took my boat with a friend of mine. We made the 9 o'clock in the morning bridge. There was breeze, northeast. It ranged, 12 to 18 through all day. And we sailed all the way up to Gibson Islands, right off the yacht club, 13.4 miles from Annapolis up and 13.4 miles back, setting the spinnaker every chance we could. And just 2 guys having a great day sail. It was really fun. And you 3 guys, if you ever come through and want to go for a sail, you're invited. I'd love to have you come out.
Nice. Sounds good. How about you, Pedro? Where are you checking in from?
Yeah, I'm at Skaneateles Lake, the Finger Lakes, Central New York, the home of the Lightning class, and some great racing. Beautiful lake I've been coming to, and this is our family summer cabin that's been here in the family for over 80 years. And I just got back last night from Nantucket, where I got to enjoy that Northeast New England rare summer 3-day Northeaster too. What incredible weather. I was sailing on the New York 50 Spartan, which is 70 feet long and goes upwind with 4 sails up with 1 mast. And it's just a great boat to sail. Unfortunately, the breeze was a little bit strong for us to do our intended event, which was the Opera House Cup But while I was back there, and if you don't mind if I share, I'm pretty proud of this. My good friend Stuart Rogerson finally made it after 9 months. Let's see if we can successfully do this. Do you have the old man of the sea there sitting with his son having a beer?
Yeah, it looks like Don Street.
Yes, it does. Well, he just finished a 10,000-mile trip from Napa Valley, California, where he bought Nandy. There's his daughter, which I'm gonna. Whoop, there's Sandy Ray. We don't need her right now. He bought this boat that you see right here. It's a Val trimaran, which is a very famous Dick Newick designed tri from the 80s, significant boat in multi-hull history. And this trimaran Stuart found in Sausalito, derelict, fixed it up and sailed it, 73-year-old guy, all the way back to home in Ibiza. And I did all the routing for him. We had a little Garmin InReach mini device where I would text him the weather forecast every day, and it was an adventure. He had to stop, and he made it through the canal just before lockdown. He tried to go into the Cayman Islands, and it was just after lockdown. But there he is, home at his beach in Ibiza, and really an incredible achievement for this guy. And he did it with 2 people in three segments. He was locked down in Key West for 3.5 months, made it to the Azores with a broken rudder, and finally made it to Ibiza. 2 people on the boat. He changed crew every leg, and none of the fancy stuff. No AIS, no radar. Handheld VHF, old school. And I'm very proud of him. It's a cool thing and a really cool boat.
And you sent him a weather forecast every day.
Yeah, so I would get Expedition software out and do my weather analysis. And luckily, most of the trip was pretty benign. So it was like 12 to 15 broad reaching. But there were some exciting moments where, hey, wait for 2 days before you cross this passage down in Costa Rica where the Tehuantepec was blowing. 40 knots or something, and it was he relied on it, and he had no other form of communication with anybody else but this little tiny device, smaller than your cell phone, made by Garmin, that sent out a ping every 15 minutes, so we knew where he was. I would ping on his tracker, enter his lat long, and then do a optimal routing for the next day.
That's cool. What's his history with the boat?
He is a member. There's a group of multi-hull aficionados all over the world that love those, multi-hulls from the 70s and 80s. Dick Newick from Martha's Vineyard being one of the really respected designers of that era, and he had another one that went up on the rocks a few years ago, and he's always wanted a Val. Louis Perron just sold his Val. He is a big fan of them. There were about, I think, some 20 made. They were kit boats, and they're the Bat Ray style trimaran from that era. And he's always wanted a Val. He loves, some people like classic cars, some people like classic guitars. He likes classic multi-hulls. He's got a Proa.
What was a good day's run for him?
I looked at that. I don't think he ever did a 200-mile day. I mean, he was pretty mellow with his sailing. You should have seen his sails. We went to North Sails in San Diego, and I pulled them all out with him. Like, you can't go across, down through the canal, across the ocean with these, they look like sails that we would use day sailing on an IOD or something, and that had been put away wet with the mildew, like Dave said. So we took him to my friend Patrick Murray at North Sails, and he spent a few hours in the loft just beefing up, batten pockets and leech cords and tabling and put in an extra reef in the mainsail, and he didn't push hard. No, so I think 180 was his best day. And of course, it was interesting. I never really thought about how you sail from Florida to the Mediterranean, but you just follow the stream up over Bermuda. Like Bermuda although on the rum line, it's right there. Bermuda's out of the way. You go way north. So he had boost too.
Mm.
Yeah, Gulfstream's your friend when it's going the way you want, right?
Yeah, especially on a boat that's going 5 knots.
Yeah.
That's the spirit. I was still alive. So the one that Loic had, was that the Be Happy boat that he was supposed to do the transatlantic on?
I'm not sure if the name of it. He did that last single-handed race that he did across the Atlantic a couple years ago was the Val, and it was all gussied up, and you know, it had a rotating mast and all the electronics and cool sail plan and stuff. I guess the Vals have slightly different sail plans and stuff, but the hulls are all the same. And it's a neat little boat. We sailed around San Diego. You know, I guess I could imagine myself sailing across the ocean in it. It's pretty small.
Well, it's cool to see. In fact, the issue that we just finished to go up to the printer, the little story on Miguel Goujon's Adagio, which you guys are probably all familiar with, and really amazing that, you know, boat that 50 years old still, you know, winning windy upwind Port Huron Mac race is incredible. But, you know, boats like that, innovative and still fast, no matter what you do.
Let's see the cover.
Oh, yes. So we could look at the, let's see. Okay. Talking about different kind of boats than those, huh? But, yeah, we got a great piece looking at this, you know, the Vendée Arctique, which went off was as kind of a prelude to the Vendée Globe, and good test for those guys. So pretty fascinating. So look forward to following a race that go around the world, and something to watch. Exciting as we wait for the rest of the world to open up again, you know. How about you, Ed? What you were up to?
Well, you know, I'm reminded why I end up spending so much time in the northern part of the U.S. and in Europe during the summer, and especially during August. We are in the height of nasty storm season. You know, we've got you got to keep one eye on the long-term radar to see what the hurricanes are doing and make sure we're not going to have to pack up and run away. But the majority of the short-term time is spent just looking out the window, making sure that you can do what you had planned for the day and the next, because you only have about a 2-hour window before you know there's going to be a really severe thunderstorm. And we've got lightning and all kinds of excitement going on outside this time of year. It's fun to be in the middle of when you can be safe, but it's amazing how many people I see get caught out every week, you know, that they think they're safe, they think they're good, and then this storm just appears over the top of them, and they're not good. Yeah.
So are you, what are you hearing from the 52s, and, you know, kind of what's ahead for you?
Well, the 52s officially are not going to have any events this season. The plan is, you know, get started next year, and I think the plan is 5 events next year. The first one's early part of May. So it's really a matter of whether the group of teams get together sometime in March or April and have a little practice event, or if they just do their own little training periods. But it's a while off. I mean, you think about that, you know, we're going to race next in May, and we haven't been on a boat since last early part of March. So tough program this year.
Any new boats being built? Sorry, Dave. I was just saying, any new boats being built?
You know, not that I'm aware of, but there are people looking. And, you know, the one thing about the class is it's really good about freezing the rule for a period of time. So there's not the great encouragement to be building a new boat every odd year. And generally the fleet replaces itself at about the same time. So that freeze goes through next year. So, you know, not the smartest time to build a new boat right now, because in a year and a half, some sort of adjustment to the rule is going to happen, and people would consider building new then. But the boats that are being raced and are available out there, there's been, you know, some folks that are wondering if they're going to keep going, and then there's other people that are looking for opportunity to get in. So we'll see what happens here over the next 2 or 3 months, but I think there's some interest. There's certainly a lot of people interested in the circuit, and of course, depending on what happens in America's Cup world, there could be even more interest if we end up with a true monohull again and not a foiling monohull in the Cup.
I was wondering about that the other day. We were looking back on some RC44 stuff, and I thought of you on these, the number of new owners that seem to kind of come from nowhere to that class, particularly from, Russia and Eastern Europe and things like that. I mean, is it sort of a hard time right now at, in that circle? Are we losing the potential for new owners coming into the sport, maybe looking to do other things?
Yeah, I mean, the 44 is an interesting, piece of equipment, because there's a lot of people that can jump into that without a lot of experience and put a good team around them and do pretty well. But then at the same time, there's guys that do come in from the 20s and the 32s and who are reasonably competent in those classes, and they come into the 44 and they just love it. So, but the challenge is, of course, to keep that interesting year after year and keep things moving along. Certainly that class has, it's been around now for 15 years or something, and it's come and gone. We've had, cycles of things growing again, and then it shrinks back down. But I think a lot of that is just timing. It's not so much the racing or the where the races are. It's like any one design class. It excels when people are really excited to push it along, and so you need those voices. You need those supporters of people that are bringing their buddies down to do the same thing. We've all seen it over the years, and everything from the laser to the 50s, and when there's excitement and energy at the leadership level, then things get better.
Now, Russia seemed to be such a pipeline for some of the owners in those classes. Where's that coming from?
Well, I mean, it's beyond my knowledge of how the economics work there and all the politics within the borders of Russia. But certainly what I've noticed, is that there's a group of, young professional sailors in Russia that have spread out from early beginnings with teams like Synergy. And they've spread out, and they just seem to be everywhere. And their energy and level of excitement is bringing more people in. The Melders 20 class has been well managed and organized within Russian sailing circles, and there's other boats that they're racing. I mean, I see stuff all the time on social media from these guys that are, it's just active. And I think the energy is there. Certainly, politically speaking, the money came along and was able to be moved around a bit more, over the past couple of decades. But it just seems to be a solid sort of base of excited young sailors that are bringing their friends along and getting involved, and classes are growing there.
Amazing. Gary, is that what's at that same level? What's happened at the world sailing level? Are you seeing, like, where's the sort of the pockets of activity right now?
On the double-handed, there's a lot of enthusiasm around the world for that, and events being organized. And, you mentioned Ken Reed, who would be a formidable competitor for sure. I bet he's got the Olympics in the back of his head long term. So, that's probably the biggest thing that I think is going right now at a time where it's very hard to train for the Olympics and not many regattas going on around the world. But in a weird way, the double-handed fits pretty well.
Seem to be
and at World Sailing, this is the end of a quad, and they're going to have an election starting in October. It's going to take about 2 weeks to go through it. And I must say, I'm happy that my term is ending and I'm not running for any other offices, and I can put it in the rearview mirror. But there's going to be a lot of people working hard to try and get in, including Corey Sertle, the current president of U.S. Sailing, who's going to run for the board.
Okay. Are they accepting mail-in ballots?
It's all going to be done electronic. And they've hired, I think, KPMG to adjudicate the whole thing. So it's not an in-person meeting. And yes, it'll be electronic balloting.
And maybe the U.S. government can learn a trick from World Sailing or two. Maybe.
That's a tough topic right now, isn't it?
Well, I think the real quick, so the one thing we also did was this, in this current issue, the proliferation of the wings, the handheld wing kiting or not kiting, it has to be wing sailing or winging it or whatever like that. It is incredible, and great story there of just you cannot buy a wing now if you wanted to try, so it's great to see people get in the water whatever way they can, and I would love to get my hands on one, but apparently it's pretty hard. Have you tried one, Peter? You look like itchy, like you've tried.
Yeah, I happened to be down in Baja right before lockdown in February, and they had the first ever wing regatta with a guy whose name I should remember. He was back from one of the windsurfing guys, lives in Maui, and he is the inventor of the foil board that everybody now is. You can put the wing on anything, but they were racing these relatively small foil boards that were sinkers if you were just lying on them. But with the wing, you could get them up and get them going. And then some people could foil and some couldn't. It was like watching, I watched the first laser regatta ever in Norwalk Harbor. It's kind of like that, difference between what it'll end up being. But the wings are cool, and everybody's having fun with them. All the kiters are having fun. My kiter friends go out to the point in Point Loma and on these foil boards and go surf out there. Just because it's easier. It's not as efficient as kites, but they're easier to manage. You just pump it up on the back of your boat, throw it in the water with a tether, and it's sort of like windsurf. You can pull it up, and it's not all the machinations that you need for a wing to be safe and to launch it. But also, you're talking about how those the wings are unavailable. I was I was just as I said, in Nantucket, and they had in lieu of their Celebrity Pro-Am, which Gary always does every year, and the IODs, it raises money for Nantucket Community Sailing, a cool organization that brings sailing to the non-sailing family kids of the island of Nantucket. They had a fundraiser with radio-controlled boats. And apparently, I forget the name of the class, but it's a class that's quite popular in Newport as well. And so I thought, hey, it'd be fun to get one of these and go sail in the race. And I went online, and you couldn't get one anywhere. So there's another, certain things are in demand right now, aren't they?
Yeah, those the Dragonflight 95 is actually Paul Todd, our photographer, was outside building one outside my door here, and the two big fleets here. They're sponsored a new regatta, so we started in Chicago. It was 2 years ago. Had a good regatta right off the bulkhead there, and that was, I think, is technically the world's fastest growing one design class, and you get it for $400 and you can't modify it. But you go into the Dragonflight 95 Facebook page, and you can see that the tweaking that's going on is through the roof. It's pretty wild. But they're cool boats, and I can imagine New York Yacht Club, I think, has 20 of them now, and Sail Newport bought a container of 20, and there's a fellow in Texas who is a consumer electronics kind of guy apparently, and he ships in containers, and as soon as the container hits Texas, they're gone. And so we'll see if we can get you one. You can start a little fleet up there in the lake, but that seems to be the state of everything.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about the little, the wing sails on the boards and stuff. That way back when windsurfers were brand new, there was a distributor here, a dealer here on St. Petersburg Beach, who got me interested, and I started sailing around on the windsurfer class boards, and I think that's probably his son, Greg Aguera.
That's who it is. Yes, exactly. No. What's the father's name?
Well, he's passed away a few years back, but Greg and his brother and sister, they all moved out to Hawaii. They were all, the wave jumpers and the freestyle boarders and all that kind of stuff that we went through in the 80s and the 90s. And then now he's got these foiling, little wing sail boards, and sometimes it doesn't even use the sail. It just goes out and gets on the big waves in Hawaii and surfs between the islands. I mean, they go for long distances on these things with the foils. But it's interesting. I mean, they were just some guys working out of a little hotel out on the beach that had a windsurfer dealership back in the 70s. And, when it was all new. So, but that's the sort of thing I was speaking of before. The energy that family had just carried through and brought people into the sport. Whatever it was they were working on, they just got people excited. It's like the Johnstones did with the J24, just got people excited and then, kept it rolling along.
Off and running. Well, it sounds like at some point by this time next year, we're going to have a sailing world around the sailing world wing regatta amongst all of us. We see we can between now and then to get it down.
What if we can't get a wing? How are we going to get ready?
Wait, I thought you said you knew Greg.
Well, I do, but business is business, right?
Yeah, and maybe by then, you just got to keep on working on it. But I guess between you get the wing, but you can also use a stand-up paddleboard, and people are building like little strap-on, skegs, so you can, stop your leeway. You can use it on anything you want, and but the foiling board is that's the ticket to ride, But so soon enough. Well, okay. So for today's quiz, so we can wrap this up. Let's see. Do a quick screen share here. I think without Jonathan here, you guys got a little chance. So, all right. Let's see if we can bring this here.
Butterfly.
There you go.
Oh no. Now this bad boy is flat.
It's got a kind of double hole. You sure it's not a butterfly? It looks like it.
Let's go. Yeah, it's got a little catamaran effect going to go double hole thing. It wouldn't be that much fun if you got long legs, but hey, it looks fun. Let's see.
It's a 1960s look in that girl there.
Yeah. There's another view. You see that view there? Anything?
Nope. No. Just
yet.
All right. Let's see. Made by Starcraft. Let's see. Let's see if I can do.
That's one I can't say I've seen before.
Let's see. And I did find a video of it. Santa, can you see the video? Okay.
Yep.
All right. There you go.
Ooh, look at that.
That'd be good for Skaneateles.
I don't know. Skaneateles has got some chop. Oh, there's the insignia. Come on.
Yeah.
Fill that sail.
Look at that. A little hike out, ripping along. That'd be probably be quick.
There's the coach boat.
Where is that?
I have no idea.
Porch?
Yeah, looks like you're at a highway there or something, but I love the old VHS recording. These are awesome. Well, amazing what you can find on YouTube.
That's
Looks
probably
like it fits along.
Look at that mast bend. I wonder if there's any stays on that rig.
I don't think so. By the look of the photo, it doesn't.
A rebel cat.
How do I get out of here? Stop share. All right.
A rebel cat. Okay.
No, not a rebel cat.
All right. Yeah, sounds like we're failing, Dave.
Adams,
All right.
originator of the Rebel Cat catamaran sailboat.
Let's get this guy here. That is a Skylark.
My gosh.
Okay.
How did I not know that? Look at it. It has a hiking stick.
But yeah,
I like the foul weather gear. That she's got some good foul weather gear on there.
Yeah.
Well, I found there's a few out there on Craigslist. So if you're looking for them, they can be found.
You can tell that era because you can see that curved handle on the bow to be able to supposedly pick it up with, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Well, cool. Well, thanks again, guys. It's been a good one. We're going to knock on some doors and get the rest of the cast back next week. And, Peter, I think you can tee up a tune. Time to bring back some music. And we'll toast the nearing end of at least August and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
Be safe,
All right,
guys.
everybody.
Pedro, Ed, nice to talk to you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Cheers, guys.